I need support staff to clear the room. Stand up and walk, now.
Hello, and welcome to The Watch. My name is Chris Ryan. I am an editor at TheRinger.com, and joining me in the studio, a podcaster of the Seven Kingdoms, it's Mallory Rubin!
Thrill of my life to be here with you to do some Baltimore Delco accent comparisons.
Yes. Mal, thank you so much for doing this with me today. We're going to talk a little bit about Task. We're going to talk a little bit about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the new Game of Thrones universe show coming early next year on the HBO service.
January 18th.
By the way, also on this episode today is my interview with Doug Dulgarian from the band They Are Gutting a Body of Water, which is one of my favorite bands, and they put out a record tonight, called LOTTO, which I hope everybody listens to. I really love talking to Doug. It does get pretty deep into underground rock references.
Oh, okay. Great.
He was awesome, and I hope people check out the record and check out the interview. I'll do a little bit of an intro for that later.
Fantastic.
Mal, it's great to see you.
Great to see you, man.
Resplendent with your Mediterranean tan. Must be nice.
I have a bit of a peeling sunburn,
Do you know?
Really? Yeah, sure.
I gotta admit, when you were like, come in and see my tan yesterday, I expected a little bit more.
I did not say come in and see my tan. I said, will you be in? Will you be in? I have to make sure someone sees my tan. I have known you for 12 years? 13
Since 2012.
Years? 12 years, 13 years. And I don't think you've seen me with anything we could even pretend was a tan once in that time. So
you
I got
a tan when you got back from your wedding, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Honestly, no.
Okay.
Maybe? I don't think so. That's all buried.
I hope people are enjoying this. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, man. You know, this is my favorite podcast. It is. And I don't mind saying it. We're not supposed to have favorites, but I do. And it has always been The Watch, and it remains The Watch. That's me time when I get to listen to The Watch. I told you that one of the things I do when I travel, as you know, is I download a bunch of episodes of The Watch, and I listen to them on the plane. And you guys might be saying, well, if The Watch is your favorite podcast, how could you have anything left to listen to? Well, I'm not always current on the shows you're covering. That might come up today.
This is our cross to bear.
But then I bank them. They're all there for me. If a plane goes down and I'm on it, I want your voice to be the last I hear.
I wonder if that is like there's a baby on this plane, so that it won't go down, because why would God take an innocent baby from the world?
You really have been reading about spirituality.
Or like if there's a famous person and you're just like, God, there's no way, if Julia Roberts is on this plane, like that's not going to be her end. So I'm safe on this flight.
If someone's listening to The Watch.
If somebody's listening to The Watch.
We're safe.
If Greenwald is like minute 3 of monologue, like it's no way. There's just no way this plane's going anywhere but to the airport. I wanted to have you on because
tell me why.
I just don't think you've had a chance to really comment on A Night of the Seven Kingdoms yet. For those who don't know, Mal and Joe did a 3-hour podcast about a 2.5-minute long trailer.
Okay, let me do some real-time fact-checking on what appears to be a real-time intervention.
Okay.
As you primed me for mere moments ago. 2 hours and 46 minutes, not 3 hours. You're an editor. You should be precise.
Okay.
There was some opening banter.
Uh-huh.
You love some opening banter, so you should support that. Then we did a brief New York Comic-Con news roundup.
Sure.
So that some of the runtime went to that. Then we did about 2 hours of spoiler-free trailer talk. And then there was a book corner spoiler
thing.
Full talk, which... the runtime builds because we're being so thoughtful about the listeners and want to make sure that the spoilers are all quadrant off in a safe marked space. So it's really for you that the pod is 2 hours and 46 minutes.
I watched this trailer and
loved it.
Did you? I don't know I didn't read these novellas, as I've not read a single word that George Martin has ever written.
No,
but
you've just read a lot of wiki entries.
A lot of Song of Ice and Fire-pedia.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to admit, I did feel some
let's go.
Some butterflies.
There's
something about this show's, at least its presentation, and this comes from Ira Parker and George R.R. Martin, pretty deeply involved in this one.
George R.R. Martin is happy to tell everybody, the assembled at New York Comic-Con and anybody else, that he's seen the 6 episodes, he loves them, and that they're very faithful to the book. The subtweets at House of the Dragon are robust, I would say.
But there's a lot to be fired up about. I think, first of all, I've banged this drum a lot. has been a sad turn after, during COVID and afterwards in terms of TV production, where I think you can openly see whether it's restrictions or like it's actually just like the cost involved in having lots of people on set and having extras and having like building out a world with like human faces.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of see like just from the shots of like the villages and stuff like that in this trailer that it looks like we are returning to kind of like that huge tapestry that Game of Thrones at its early season best was able to build, where you're just like, look at that guy, like what's he doing back there? So that was really neat. And I want to talk to you about a couple of other things I've heard about this. So this show comes from Ira Parker, who, give me a little bit about him. Does he...
So he's worked on House of the Dragon. Okay. Obviously, I think one of the things that... So Joe and I talked about this quite a bit in our long trailer breakdown, but one of the things... Let me pan even further back for just a second. How long did you say we guys...
Dolly out. It's okay. Go ahead.
So... A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, just genuinely a quick little bit of context here. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, this is the adaptation of the Tales of Dunk and Egg novellas, also packaged together and called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
I'm on year 10 of pretending like I know who those guys are. Yeah.
You're about to, buddy.
Yeah. I know.
You're fucking about to. So currently, to date, there are... Stop me if you've heard this before. This is an unfinished text. It is an in-progress story. There are 3 novellas that have been published, but promises of more to come.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the only bit of cold water I'll put on this is like, I do have some questions about how far they will go on their own versus like what the odds are of George, who has said he'll return to these novellas after he finishes Winds of Winter, ripping off some more tales. But the novellas are sublime. Like, they are delightful.
Are they your favorite pieces of Martin writing?
No, but they are among my favorites. I would not say it's like absolutely number one, top of the list, but I love all 3 of them. The first one, The Hedge Knight, which season 1 is adapting, season 1 of this television show, is like a masterpiece.
Okay.
It is so full of charm and intimacy. I love hearing you say that you felt like we were back in like the kind of sprawling scope and majesty of the realm. I think one of the great things about this novella and this season of TV is a tourney as a setting allows you to do both things at once. You're in one place.
Tournament.
Yes. You're in one place. You are rooted with this new set of characters, but because it's a tourney, there's a joust who's going to challenge the champions. So many people can be there. You can see all those familiar sigils. Oh, is that, I'm a Game of Thrones fan. I'm watching this trailer. Is that the crowned stag of House Baratheon? It is. Okay, right? But also, like, who are Dunk and Egg, as you said? Now, some people will know the answer to that, some people won't. And I think it's going to be a very welcoming space for anybody, no matter what your relationship is to the story or the characters. If you're like, I've never read any Song of Ice and Fire, could I start? And we got this mailbag question on House of R. This is a 3-hour read. It is the easiest.
So you say.
So an audiobook time says, so a Kindle read estimate time says.
I'm just being like, with my shattered attention span you've
been mainlining the spiritual texts.
I have been.
You're ready for this.
Yeah,
anyway, I think as always with Thrones, there are dark elements to this and heavy elements to this, but there is quite a bit about it that is heartening and affirming, and I think it is a great time for this show. And while it is maybe not the like zeitgeist animating every single person alive is definitely going to watch this on Sunday night, I am really hopeful that the people who do tune in will love it.
Okay, so 6 episodes.
Yes.
3 of them directed by Owen Harris, or 4 directed by Owen Harris.
They're half an hour.
And Sarah Dina Smith does the others, and they're half an hour.
What do you, Mr. TV, make of that?
I think this is an ingenious idea by HBO, by Martin Industries, by like...
Okay, so your reaction was not, why isn't this a movie? It was, this is smart.
My reaction was, this is the perfect time and the perfect like way to see if you can still, obviously, like, people have been anticipating this adaptation of these novellas for a long time, but the execution of it is like such a, with nothing critical about House of the Dragon, such an antidote to like the heaviness of House of the Dragon. And honestly, 8 years ago or whatever, I probably would have rolled my eyes when you told me that he hasn't finished Dunk and Egg and that like we don't really know where this show is going to go. Truly, who cares? Hopefully we'll all be alive in 4 years.
And I should say, we do know many things because there are things in the
that happen
wider
in the
history
future,
that are
right.
established. It's a lot of like, I have tales to flesh out along the way.
But if I had a criticism of House of the Dragon, it's that I am weak and I read what happens.
You did. Yeah.
And also, like, it's kind of playing out the way, you know, it feels like a fixed text when you're watching it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's like, it's encumbered a little bit by its history. By the history of the realm and stuff, and like telling all these like this massive story of a group of people who largely stand in rooms when they're not on top of dragons.
Right.
And so it's become, I think it's like the idea of having something that is just almost like a little bit more alive and a little bit more free. And then, yes, like the time invested in this is going to be enough so that they can start to say like, okay, so like what could we do with this franchise?
Right.
And I think that we got through the Marvel wars, and I don't even know, like, are they going to keep making TV shows of Marvel stuff? Like, I seriously can't tell. Like, they have Wonder Man on the slate.
Wonder Man's coming. The Vision show is coming.
But that's like the end of the Vision Agatha thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could convince me that, you know, when X-Men comes, there's just going to be too much stuff to not do a Wolverine show or not do a whatever
Another
show.
season of X-Men 97 coming. Obviously, different continuity, but still. Yeah.
But if you want to keep this going as like a viable vein to mine, you've got to have different kinds of looks for people and different entry points. And I think like having a 6-episode, 30-minute, hey, it's not that much of an investment. You don't know these people, but you will kind of thing is really, really smart.
I agree. And I think that there is something really pleasing and like that I anticipate a lot about a Thrones television show that people can calibrate their relationship to, right? So if you decide that all you want to do is spend 30 minutes a week for 6 weeks, for a month and a half, checking it out, I think you'll probably have a pretty good time. But if you decide that you want to pick up the novellas or read The World of Ice and Fire to learn about this stretch of Targaryen rule or anything else, it is such a tantalizing amuse-bouche to then like present itself as an on-ramp into more. I've been interested in, so I didn't actually answer, shockingly, I didn't actually answer your question. I just started talking. But your question about Ira Parker, one of the things that really struck me watching the stream of the Comic-Con panel and just like reading some of his interview quotes so far and seeing how he's talking about the show is this two things. One, he clearly loves the story.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I feel like it can be kind of corny to point that out or say that, but it is important. You mentioned the MCU. It's like, how many times have all of us over the years talked about like one of the reasons it worked from, I mean, there are a million, read Joanna's book, right? But among them was like Iron Man, which would never have been the choice if not for rights control elsewhere and like
Happy
a focus
accidents.
group responding to toys and stuff, was that the people who were making that first Iron Man movie like loved and understood the character. When you hear Ira Parker talk about these characters, you're like, this guy loves and understands the characters. And so whatever version the show takes from there, I believe, based on what we've seen so far, I'm confident it will be rooted in like a core understanding of why that relationship between Dunk and Egg is a meaningful one to fans of the world. I wanted to ask you, though, the other Ira Parker thing that stood out to me, I wanted to ask you what you make of this, is that he is, so the marketing material is like Tall Tale that became legend, right? 100 years before Game of Thrones. They're really trying to root us. This is between the two television shows. And the other thing that they're really leaning into with the timeline and where we are on the timeline is no magic.
Yep.
And I was curious what you made of that because like I, of course, had a little bit of a, well, actually, wait, what does this mean about X, Y, and Z that I won't invoke here and spoil for people? But I do see the wisdom of, and I love magic and I love fantasy stories.
It's making a Star Wars show without the Force. It's like, I think that there is a huge contingent of people who are like, I think for the same reason why I don't know, but I'm hoping that there are no dragons in this show. I think the dragons are supposed to be gone by now, right?
Correct. So and that's the thing is like, I don't think, I have not perceived this at all as like, there's no magic, so don't worry. This isn't like nerdy fantasy stuff, which I don't think is the vibe of the comments. And I would not want that to be the vibe of the comments. I think it's like, we're trying to convey and establish where we are in the history of the realm. And this is going to be the essence as a result. This kind of like Arthurian swords and shields.
Yeah.
Like I am on an adventure and seeking to discover something about who I am and what I believe in, right? So I was wondering if you found that or personally compelling, but also thought that would be like, and I quite enjoy House of the Dragon, but in the era of like, we're waiting 3 years between seasons because we have so many CGI dragons to like make sure we can get up to snuff before we're ready to put another season out in front of you.
Yes.
If this was going to feel like a really like welcoming, warm bath to people, like maybe we get one of these every like 12 to 18 months.
That would be amazing if this was the slow horses of the Game of Thrones universe. Like that would
Jackson Lamb in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms immediately. I need his commentary on the jousts. He would not enter the list, but I think he would sit there and whatever the Ashford Meadow version of like I'm slurping on some noodles is, while he's judging all of the champions and challengers, sign me up.
I think that there's probably a one way to look at this would be like, and this is the position Andy and I often take on Star Wars stuff, which is that like Andor kind of scratched the itch that we had for 30, 40 years and that we don't need anything else and it's not about the Force. And it's not to some extent, but I think when I think about what Andor did so well and what I'm excited about, for instance, for this show and what was really great about Game of Thrones when it started is like, it had kings and princesses and stuff like that and dragons. But it also had people from nowhere becoming something. And there was like an arc to it. And sometimes when I think shows or movies or whatever, when you're relying on, no, she's already the queen, or she already has dragons, or we come in and this person already has the Force and is a Jedi master. There's just like a little bit less of a runway to go on with the characters.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel earned for you as a viewer because this person is already endowed with everything. It's like, I like Luke Skywalker as a bratty teenager looking up at
Power
two
converters.
moons and like being like, I want to get out of here.
Binary Sunsets is like, you could still argue to this day it's the single best moment in the history of like cinema.
Yes.
And the score kicks in and he's looking and he's longing. I agree. I think so.
So sending people on a journey rather than having them already be at the seat of power is kind of interesting to me.
So, okay, I have two thoughts in response to that. One, I think that if that is something you are looking forward to and craving, there's a chance this is your favorite bit of Thrones yet. I think that's probable. That's in play. Again, I haven't seen the show, so I don't know if it's good, but like in terms of just the
run of
story.
Thrones is probably that period from spoilers for Game of Thrones.
I think it's fine.
It's basically post Ned dying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the
damn, that was a big spoiler.
The chaos that kind of ensues from there, and the rise and fall of Robb, of Jon, of Littlefinger to some extent, Joffrey coming in, and just like all of the like people who are outside of power rushing in to take it.
Yes,
that was my favorite period of Game of Thrones. So I'm excited about some just random two dudes at a tournament. I'm sure they're not that random.
This is my second point, which is my only bit of, because there's also been a lot of like, we're rooted in Dunk's perspective. We're on the ground.
And Dunk is the kid or the big guy?
Egg is the kid.
Yeah.
Dunk is Sir Duncan the Tall.
Gotcha.
There's been a lot of like, we're rooted on the ground with the people of the realm, the exact thing that you're describing. And like the royals are present. You can see in the trailer, you can see the Targaryen banners.
Sure. There's a blonde kid in it.
I was about to say the trailer debut of, Night Country fans, seeing Finn Bennett, Aerion Brightflame, Aerion Targaryen.
Okay. His name is Aerion?
His name is Aerion. Aerion Targaryen, the Bright Prince, Aerion Brightflame. One of my most anticipated page
to screen. Is he the current Secretary of State in the United States of America?
He's a piece of work, so I'm really looking forward to that character. One of my other favorite characters from the story, you can glimpse him in the trailer. He's not prominently featured in the trailer, but he is mentioned in that funny, like, are you Baelor Targaryen? No, then get the fuck out of the way moment. Baelor Targaryen. The ruling family is here. Lionel Baratheon, the Laughing Storm, is here. Like, lords and ladies and people of power are in the story, and I don't want to like overcorrect in framing it as like we're only hanging out with like people who are just mainlining bowls of brown and flea bottom. That's like not the case. But the thing that you're describing and that journey and that arc and that spirit of like possibility and discovery. I mean, I would argue, and I know you would agree that like that can be very present in the "Oh wait, am I the chosen one" story as well. Sure. But it is different. It's a different flavor, and that is certainly the flavor here. But like, yeah, you will see the Targaryens in the story, and people should expect that.
It's Thursday now. We had the bridge from Game of Thrones and George R.R. Martin to the next topic is Fabian Frankel. You know, obviously Sir Kristen Cole
with us always
in House of Dragon. They just finished shooting season 3, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to get 2 Thrones shows next year.
When's the last time that's happened? Has that ever happened?
No. Are you excited to do Talk the Thrones 2 times in 1 year? You ready?
I'm way more excited about Dunk and Egg. I mean, I love working with you guys, but I would be way more excited about doing...
You could have just said, yes, I can't wait to spend time with you guys.
Yes, I can't wait to spend time with you, yes.
But that wasn't what you said, was it?
You are current on task.
Yes,
as we head into the finale.
I am.
Have you gotten to talk about it? Like, do you like it? Do you love it?
I just think it's fucking amazing. Yeah. It's one of my like probably 3 favorite shows of the year. I've loved listening to you and Andy talk about it, and I've loved watching the show. I'm pretty despondent that it's about to end.
Yeah.
I am current through 6. I got back from my travels. And I was a couple episodes behind, and it was the first thing on my to-do list. I mean, I had some work to catch up on, but on my television to-do list, catching up on task, I was like, this is the most important.
So you did 5 and 6 when you got back?
Yes. And boy.
Roller coaster of emotions. So spoilers up until and through 6, although if you're listening to The Watch, you're probably like on Task Island with us.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. Let's talk about Fabian, because did you think he had this in him?
Yeah, because I think, unlike Andy, I think he's great on House of the Dragon. Obviously we're big Kristen Cole
heads here. It's a specific part, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, have I been waiting for Grasso to take out a sword and start polishing it with a lemon? I have.
Yeah.
Have I found myself in moments saying, will we get a spoiler for House of the Dragon? You issued a spoiler for Thrones. I'll issue a more recent spoiler for House of the Dragon. Are we going to get any like diving into the royal muff a la Kristen and Allison? Not so, more restraint.
Yeah, celibate.
From Grasso. I think that the performance has been great. I think the character is a highlight of the show. Grasso and Lizzie, same for me as for you. Just I mean, obviously, like it feels a little weird to say anything other than like the Robbie Tom scenes are actually the number 1 highlight of the show, because of course,
really,
yeah. But like something about that Lizzie Grasso, because that was what we were anticipating was Tom and Robbie, right?
Yes.
Was Ruffalo and Pelfrey, and so the absolute out of nowhere wallop of watching what developed in real time between Grasso and Lizzie is like the delight of the show to me, and Maeve too. Like the things that I wasn't prepared for the way I was like, I thought Pelfrey on Ozark, that was one of the performances of like the decade.
Yeah.
So I was thrilled to have him back on Our Lives in this show. And I love Ruffalo. He's like an all-time fave of mine. So, and I loved Mare of Easttown. So I was really looking forward to the show. And I've not been disappointed with any of the things that I was anticipating, but the stuff that I had no real reason to like be looking forward to as much has just blown me away.
Yeah.
It's been sensational. And like, I know I said this, I really have loved listening to you guys talk about it. Like, I think your conversations have been beautiful, and the show is beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, it's hard to like, I mean, we laugh about it and like we joke about it, but it's definitely moved me pretty deeply.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's sort of like Andy and I have to like kind of go into this sort of tender zone when we talk about it. But yeah, I think that it was just really surprising for me. I think I really did go into it, and I should have known better because Mare's not like this. Mare's like, Winslet and Gene Smart sitting around and talking to the priest and like the kid having the band, and like there's so much life in Mare. It's not surprising that this is the same way, but like I just kind of thought like, oh yeah, it's going to be way more about like moving drugs in Philly and like cops chasing who's hitting these stash houses. The mystery of this show is over like very fast.
Yeah.
Like I think that when they take Sam home in the first episode and it becomes obvious that it's like Sam is like this vessel of hope for every person who gets their hands on him throughout this series. So that's not something I thought I was going to get. Like, I didn't think about like, oh my God, this is about like building or rebuilding family and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I think like, I agree. I think that the fact that Robbie died in the penultimate episode is, if you just panned back and look at like, okay, what might the flow of the season be? Not surprising. But in terms of the reality that it presents to us of like the show is going to conclude by being, on the one hand, plot-wise about something different than we thought the show was going to be like driving toward. But in terms of its theme and its core focus, that somehow heightened and further unlocked the treatise that the show is actually exploring, which, like, as you guys have beautifully discussed, you know, this is a show about obviously like loss and grief and remorse and longing. But the thing that I think that it's ultimately about is like, this is a show about grace. Yeah. And what grace are you able to find for other people and grant to other people? But like, really, what are you able to grant to yourself?
Yes.
And that is like an incredible thing to present, I think, quite subtly and in a very nuanced fashion, but still inside of like a pretty propulsive, action-oriented tale. And like the majesty and splendor of the vistas and the locations and the fact that you can be in somebody's like beat-up living room or at this astonishing quarry or a booth at a diner or in somebody's car with a duffel bag on their lap or a person's body on their lap, and like all of them are equally compelling to watch, is incredible. And like the Robbie Shelley moment is, and just that sequence is really, to me, emblematic of like the genius of the show.
Because it's just like there's no characters wasted.
Yeah, no characters wasted.
Shelley could just be like this background person who's like, Ray, don't do it, you know, like, and instead,
good accent work.
Thanks. And then instead it's like
plays a crucial, pivotal role.
And like, but it's almost it screws around a little bit with the cliche of like, I'm a good person. And Robbie's like, oh my God, I'm a good person. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
and that's the thing, right? Is like, okay, on the one hand, it would not be a good faith argument to say, what does it really matter in terms of the plot? Obviously, that's like hugely consequential in terms of the plot and everything that's really unfolding with Freddie and with the dark arts and with Robbie and with his plan and the sacrifice and the money that'll go to Maeve. Like, all of that is carefully plotted and structured and paced and dispersed to us and the characters alike. But in terms of the good person thing, why would Robbie, who's like, who the fuck are you? And like, why would I listen to you? And why would I believe you for a second? Why are these the choices? This is also a show about grace and forgiveness and loss, but choice as well. And like, so what ultimately leads Robbie to like opt into this? Is it crazy Robbie always trying to figure out a way to make his life better and then realizes he's run out of opportunity to do that, so it has to make someone else's life better? Or is it,
in retrospect, it's like Robbie's knows he's dead from the second the cliff thing
and
goes
also
wrong.
Though I like to think about like he's looking at Shelley and saying, okay, and this is what happens with, in a much more centered and like in the spotlight way at the heart of the show with Tom and Robbie, but also in a really quiet way in the corner happens with Robbie and Shelley, is like the only common ground that these characters have with each other is, I really wish I had a chance to like do something better for my family than I did before.
And I think he believes Shelley does, and he knows he doesn't. But he's like, the only person who can help me is somebody as desperate as I am. Because Maeve is like, what the fuck are you talking about? When he's like, let's go to Canada. You know, like, and they, honestly, like, they probably could have gone to Canada just with the money that they had. Like, they may get chased and it may be dangerous and all that, but like, his thing about like, I need this money to set us up for whatever, like this island where there's no trash services and no schools, is like a dream. It's a pipe dream. And it's like, what he needs is to basically break through to the other side, where both like in the sort of like on the other side of life idea of it, but also he needs to just end this chase. He needs to stop being chased by the dark arts, stop chasing the dark arts. He needs to get rid of these drugs. Yeah. I mean, it's a really beautiful show, and it's a really like special little diamond when it comes to like using the crime stuff to like talk about much different things.
Yeah. I thought that like Tom going to Grasso's house, incredible scene, obviously.
Yeah.
the confession conversation which you and Andy talked about was really amazing. I felt like, again, that was a scene that really showed how the little details in the show elevated into like God tier
Grasso's
status.
been asking about this for 5 hours now.
Build up the way that he thinks about sin and guilt and doubt and forgiveness, but even just something like he's basically in his pajamas, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, if he and Lizzie fuck, he takes off his shirt and we see the tattoo, like to build to the moment where you're finally seeing that, like, the extent of what was his relationship to his faith, the way that is on his body and presented to us in that moment versus an earlier moment. So purposeful, right? I'm coming for you, Grasso, then come, like, chills. Incredible. And I like thinking about how, you know, obviously Ethan and his trial, everything with Grasso, like all of these things that maybe we thought we had no reason to think would be the final episode of the show are now centered, but it's like, it's in some ways the show's version of you put the cold water on your shoulder so that your heart doesn't explode when you find out what you're really heading into, you know? So we have been acclimating without even realizing we were this entire time for all of these characters, all of these broken people to confront each other. Like, I'm really obviously quite worried about Maeve, and, you know, you can see in, I've obviously not seen the finale, like you can see in the, just the, you know, the 40-second preview for the finale that they put at the end of episode 6, like, Jason and Perry are gonna find her. That's like really featured in the coming in the finale teaser. So obviously that's worrying. I hope Maeve makes it out. If she does, like, into what kind of life? If she doesn't, I find my mind going to, like, does Tom take Harper and Wyatt too?
Right. Swiss Family Robinson it? Yeah.
So, and in some ways it's like the plot particulars and weirdly the fates of the characters are like, obviously they are important and they matter to me because I'm really invested in these people's lives, but it's like the message feels so established already. I think that the fact that the show is so heavy and really like rooted in despair and a feeling of like hopelessness, but then I find it to be so hopeful as well. Like that little glimmer of, you know, that's why I loved the Tom Grasso conversation. Like if you want forgiveness, like all you have to do is ask. And the fact that can feel impossible, like when he was saying to Robbie in episode 5, you don't have to be the vagrant bird. Like it's not necessarily too late for you to come home. And do people have the ability to realize that that's true? Is it true? You know, and like what is more powerful, being the person on the receiving end of that or the person who can maybe grant that to somebody else?
Right. You know, and even that Robbie Tom conversation, I just keep thinking about like what you were saying about Shelley and how 9 out of 10 shows have Shelley open the door, let them go talk to Ray. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
This is just a woman who lives in this guy's house. She gets an extra bit when Ray is like, we're going to rob these guys. You know, she's interrogated. You have that incredible Aaliyah monologue with her. Then she's kind of gone for a while and then pops out at the most crucial moment of Robbie's life, pretty much when he's deciding what he's going to do. But because we've spent just those extra couple of scenes with her, she goes from being someone who's in the background to someone who is now in the foreground. And then even if that's just all we get with her, you know what I mean? Like, obviously she, at the end of 5 gives, or at the end of 6 gives Maeve the money. Yeah. And you're just like, this is incredible, but also like Maeve is now in a tremendous amount of even more danger.
But even like, one thing I found myself thinking about a lot was like, Robbie had absolutely no reason to believe that she would give Maeve the money.
I don't even know if he does.
And,
you know, like...
Yeah.
But he's like, this is my best shot.
And the thing that he's banking on, there's the literal currency of like moving the fentanyl and what was in Grasso's file, like the actual tangible thing you can hold in your hand or that you can point somebody to. But like the only actual shared currency between those people is like the trust that you know what it's like to be let down. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so that's the thing they're banking on at the end of the day, which is like a really remarkable thing to study over 7 hours of TV.
Yes. And then another example of that is like, there's a lot of shots of birds in this show.
Beautiful.
You know, and you're just kind of like...
Are you a big bird guy? I mean, you're go birds,
thinking about
obviously.
It. Yeah,
you know,
go birds,
course,
but you know, I'm not, but it's an easy thing to just be like, all right, we're going to cut to some idyllic nature shots to like fill this out. You know, dare I say, sometimes I find Mike White over relies on that, you know? And I know that there's symbolism in his cutaways and everything, but I do think that you get all that stuff, you get him watching these birds and kind of drunkenly like mentioning that this one thing has shown up in his backyard.
Yeah.
Because that hits harder when they have this conversation in the car.
Yes.
And he's like, you're the vagrant. You know, you're like, oh shit, that's why we've been looking at these things for such a long time. I'm glad you like it.
Oh, it's great.
So you said it's easily among, what were the other top shows of the year for you?
I mean, all right, let me issue the caveat that my brain is just shattered right now. Jet lag, also the general just decline and decay of my
I'll fact check you in real time
faculties and acuity. I'm sure I'm remembering a few things that are very important to me this year that I loved. I think my favorite, the shows that I think are the best this year so far, Andor, Task, Adolescence, Pitt, Severance.
There's one you're forgetting.
Maybe that's my top 5. What am I forgetting?
Shoresy.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm not forgetting Shoresy, but I was forgotten by you and Manzukis when Shoresy rolled around. Forgotten.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely told you to watch Shoresy.
Yes, and then the 3 of us were texting about how we would pod together when the new season came out.
You? Why?
I was here, and Kaya was like, they're podding about Shoresy. And then I came over and I stood there and waited to watch you come out of the studio.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're not.
You're a very busy woman. You know, I don't want to encumber you with more pod.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Shoresy would be up there. That was a great one. What else came out this year? I was higher on this season of Last of Us than many.
I think it's been
enjoyed that. What else?
Consistently entertaining TV year that has
Pitt
4 or 5 shows that are kind of a cut above.
Yeah.
And
this is one of them. No
Task
question.
is coming on strong, but I still think on a personal note, just to see the project fulfilled, Andor is kind of like separate, which is weird because one of the things that I think has united my favorite shows this year has been this feels like real life, like whether it's the Pit or Adolescence and in some ways Task. Andor is about space politics, but obviously is also about revolution and has become, you know, kind of a touchstone cultural moment at this particular time in American and Western politics.
I mean, obviously we've talked about this many times over the years in covering Thrones Together and many other things, but you know, that's ultimately like, that's the great magic trick of genre storytelling. Yeah. Like that's what genre storytelling at its best does. It simultaneously transports you to a world that is not yours and is ultimately not recognizable and unlocks something about your ability to think about and understand your own life. And Andor is just the supreme.
And just even
example.
As a season of TV, Andor is probably like the first time since Bear season 2 maybe that I can remember where like you'll be like having a conversation about the best episode of a season of television. And you realize that you're talking about different episodes because there's so many good ones. Yeah. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, man. What a treat.
Enjoy the Task finale.
I'm really looking forward to it. Okay. I think I'm going to probably be pretty shaken by whatever happens. That's my expectation. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. You and Andy mentioned the possibility when you were covering episode 6 that this was not 100% definitively a limited series.
There's just a lot of chatter.
Which shattered me. I did not know that was like out in the ether as a possibility.
I think there's just been a lot of chatter about the Inglesby verse and
some chirping birds
that there is interest in doing more of this show in particular.
I would be thrilled.
I think it's a no-brainer. Yeah. I hope they don't like let it like basically what happened with Mare, which is like they made it. Yeah. I think they made it around or right after or during COVID, and kind of like then Kate Winslet went off and did like Kate Winslet things, and like she was like, I would love to play this character again, but obviously her dance card gets really full up. Like,
sure.
I hope people love Task and that they're like,
we need to do more of it.
Let's do Task and let's do it like next year. You know,
that would be incredible.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Mallory.
Thank you, Christopher.
Let's get into my interview with Doug Dulgarian from They Are Gutting a Body of Water. All right, we're about to get into my interview with Doug from They Are Gutting a Body of Water. This is one of my favorite current bands. Their new album, LOTTO, which comes out midnight Friday or late tonight, Thursday, to you'll be able to listen to it almost immediately after you hear this pod. This is easily my favorite record of the year. So I really wanted Doug to come on. Andy and I have bands on from time to time. They tend to be relatively obscure, I guess, compared to maybe some of the TV people that we have on. But if you're listening to this and you like They Are Gutting a Body of Water, I think it's a really fun interview because we go through a bunch of the songs on LOTTO and talk about like their creation and what Doug was kind of thinking when he was making them. If you don't know this band, I would say, do you like Sonic Youth? Do you like Nirvana? Do you like My Bloody Valentine? I think you'd like them. They are just an amazing underground rock band. They have elements of shoegaze, elements of electronic music, elements of just, really, really good indie rock, I guess. It's hard to know what to call them because they are really, really unique. This is a Philadelphia band, so in the tradition of this podcast, we celebrate things from Philadelphia. They sound otherworldly to me, but they also sound like they can only really come from Philadelphia. I talked to Doug about that. I talked to Doug about these songs. We talked a little bit of Birds. Go Birds, go there, Gutting a Body of Water. Go check out LOTTO. Doug, thank you so much for joining me, man. I've loved this band for a minute. LOTTO, the new record from They Are Gutting a Body of Water, is honestly like pretty far and away the best thing I've heard this year. So congratulations on the record. Thanks for joining me.
Dude,
yeah. So you're calling from Philly right now?
Yeah. West Philly.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm in my warehouse.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit because, me and Andy, we've been, my podcast partner, have been talking about this show Task that's been on for a minute. It's a crime show set in Philly on HBO, but we've had Philly on the brain. I've been back a bunch recently. When you think about it, like, what is distinctively Philadelphia about the sound of this record specifically, but the band in general?
Listen, full transparency, I'm not from here. I've been here a long time, and I love it, and I would die for this city. I love this place. But the other thing is just like, it's kind of like an infectious thing that I think happens to you whether or not you want it to. You know what I mean? So I got here in whatever, like 2015 or 16 or something like that. And even like the stuff that I'm talking about on the record is very just like pertains to my day-to-day life.
I wanted to ask you, this is sort of like a tough question for me to articulate because I don't know how you would want to answer it. But one of the things that's always drawn me to the band is I feel like, for better and probably for worse for you sometimes, like you're just like the listener gets to ride shotgun in your brain. Like, now for me, it's always been like this musical journey with you where I'm like, how is this guy putting together these sounds together? Like whether it's a shoegaze sound or a jungle breakbeat or even just like the little samples you're triggering and all this stuff. And I feel like I can feel this journey or passion you've had for music for your whole life, like coming out in these records. And it really, really speaks to me because I feel like I share a lot of the similar tastes with you. But can you talk to me a little bit about like you as a music listener and like what you've kind of like found when you found it and how it's kind of been assimilated into now like the stuff that you're making?
Yeah, for sure. When I was a kid, I didn't know anything about indie rock. It just wasn't something that I listened to. I just primarily listened to hip hop, like Lil Wayne and Jadakiss,
Sure.
the LOX, like all that stuff. That was like primarily what I listened to. My sibling went to school at SVA in New York City, and they were just so tapped into like cool shit that it just wasn't a part of. I didn't know anything about it, and so then it just became like, like Radiator Hospital and shit like that. And I was just like, wow, this is like super cool. But then also, when I was like 22, 23, I got into like Boards of Canada. And I think Gio Gotti like specifically really changed the way I thought about a lot of things. Cause like that whole record, Gio Gotti, is like backwards. I mean, every song is like literally, like I think they like record things forwards and just like reverse it and put it out. And I always thought like it felt so specific and I remember the first time I listened to it, I was like, I hate the way I feel when I listen to this. But then it just becomes like comfortable. And the same thing could be said for like My Bloody Valentine or whatever. I think the other thing is just like we're starving for like a monoculture, but I think the monoculture kind of that exists is like a cacophony of everything all at once. And I think I've always really just been a fan of so many different things. And my whole thing is just like, if you like something, why don't you just like take a swing at it, just see how it feels.
Do you
know what I
actually
mean?
feel
So,
like you're starving for a monoculture? Like, do you wish that there was like a
Totally.
single publication telling you what bands to listen to and stuff like that, and like kind of have that, maybe not that kind of like gatekeeping, but
not a publication, but I really do wish, I don't know. I feel like even up until, the mid 2000s or whatever, I remember like The Sopranos was such a big deal. Maybe that's a cool thing about the internet too, is that everybody is just like into their own thing, Like I don't know. But I love the feeling of just like everybody knowing what this thing is. You know what I mean?
I think the cool thing about the internet is, for instance, like somebody could hear this interview. I know I had this experience with your band where you can just like lose yourself in it, and you can watch these clips of you guys playing live in a circle in a Sonic drive-in or whatever. You can really like immerse yourself in something so fast. But I think for you and me, probably, who still remember a pre-digital life, like there was some kind of romance to the way you're describing getting into Radiator Hospital and listening to Jadakiss tapes and stuff like that, and like finding it in a little bit of a slower way. It feels like I almost burned through my obsessions like super fast now.
Yes, exactly. I think that is the ultimate conclusion to like a lack of monoculture, is that you're super thrilled about something, but it doesn't have the staying power that it once did.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I think that that I don't know if it's scary. It's just I don't know, there's something really magical about things that were just like a part of the zeitgeist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit about Lotto, because it feels very much like you guys playing in a room, and it feels like a record I cannot wait to see you guys play live, because it just feels like it's been dialed up to be heard in that environment. Was that like a big thing for you, where you were like, I want to feel like this feels like a band right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think we were getting to a point where we were so niche, and just so like we were becoming a meme. You know what I mean? It was getting weird, and like that's cool. You can listen to my music and determine that like I'm super into experimentation, and I'm super into things, exploring and figuring out, new ways to do things or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, with this one, I was just like, dude, I just want to get back to the basics. Like, what do we sound like? And also, like, by the time we made Gestures Ben, and it was just me and Ben and our friend Evan playing bass. It was just a 3-piece. By the time I made Destiny XL, it was like a cycling cast of people. And they were changing constantly. By the time we got to Lucky Styles, it was the solid 4-piece that we have now. So this record as a follow, and then we did Expansion Pack 2, which was really just like super far out. I wanted to just like go as many places as I wanted to with that one. So for this one, it was like, let's just bring it back to reality and just see what that feels like. And honestly, it's cool. It's exciting. I got real into Nirvana's In Utero, and just like reading about it and reading about like what that felt like. I love creating things that feel almost artificial. Like the blue raspberry flavor of candy or something like that. You know what I mean? Because like it's like it really is the best flavor. It's phenomenal. It's like strange and doesn't exist in nature. But then there's also something about like just eating a strawberry, where you're like, this is nice too,
And it tastes like it looks,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's no like, it's not like a mystery Airheads flavor where you're like, I have no idea what the fuck this thing is, So yeah, I don't know. It was cool to get back to that. And also just a lot of the things that I was talking about on the record, or just where I was in my life. And I think where we all were in our lives. we just wanted to make a record that we could recreate
Yeah.
live. Sometimes that's hard. You do it's cool to explore, man. It's cool to like do all these other different things and, see where things can go. But like we tried playing Kmart Amen Break live probably like 5 times and it's cool. It just doesn't hit the same way. And we just wanted to be like, yo, but like Delta P does, or like Behind the Waterfall does, but it's a totally different thing when we play it live. And both of those are off Lucky Styles. But like with the Lotto songs, it's just like we could just play any of them.
Yeah,
live,
I think my
really
favorite
cool.
song by you guys is still Fake 20. And that feels like it could be on Lotto. It feels like
it's things move in cycles, dude. I think this is kind of like a revisitation of what it felt like to make Gestures Band, and I think it just kind of always moves in cycles like that. And Gestures Band felt similarly, where it was like we just kind of live tracked it, and it was I don't know if we live tracked it, but it feels so live. But yeah, I don't know. It's been refreshing to get into just like just being a band. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it's like all this other stuff, all this jungle stuff, all this like, and I love all that stuff. Don't you know what I mean? Like no shade at all, but it was definitely just so much cooler to just be like, we're just going to be a band for this.
That's cool.
And see what that. Yeah, it was enjoyable to create too, because it was so much easier.
So like, I want to ask you about a couple of the songs. So I'm going to start in the middle of the record. And we're not going to go track by track or anything like that, but I just had to like ask you about a couple of things. When I was listening to the promo version of the album, like on repeat, I often wouldn't be able to see what track I was listening to. So with like the first few times through, and I get to Slow Cross Stick and I'm like, damn, this sounds like Fugazi. This is... and then I was like, well, dude, yes, it's from Instrument. It's fucking Slow Cross Stick. I was so excited.
Dude, it's the opening track on not of the record itself, but in the documentary. And I just always remember like watching that and being like, holy, it just feels, and it's such a simple song, but it just feels so powerful. And honestly, I don't think we recreated it in a way that is I don't even know if it does it justice. It was just like, I just wanted to do it because, I mean, like, morally, I really love those guys. And I've always been a fan of just like, I don't know, just everything. And I remember the first time I heard Instrument, I think I thought I knew what Fugazi sounded like. And then I heard Instrument in like, Quad Cities, Iowa, just like after the show we played, maybe in like 2015. And I was like, this is crazy. This sounds like Duster or something. This is like some other thing that just like, I thought I knew what Fugazi sounded like. And then I listened to that record and I was just like, holy smokes. It's, so yeah, I love that record. That record in particular, Instrument soundtrack, is just like easily one of my favorites. And, so I just wanted to like, it's just a nod.
It's also like a great middle of the record kind of like stretch where you're just like, yeah, man, we're just gonna like lose it, like it's almost like Shake It Off and now we're gonna finish the album. But when I heard it and I was thinking, like Instrument was just like a VHS tape that we just had on in our apartment in Boston when I was living there, when I was a kid, forever. It just felt like it was on a loop. And you would just walk in and be like, oh, Guy's about to climb through the basketball hoop now or whatever.
Yes.
But that period of time for Fugazi, which is like actually like that Red Medicine End Hits Instrument era, is like my favorite. But it made this connection in my head between like kind of what you guys are doing and what they were doing. And they were like demons in the studio. Like they're doing so much cool stuff on those albums, but they could still like tear your head off live, and we're still
totally
like this incredible rock band. So I thought it was just an awesome like little like Easter egg to throw in there. I wanted to ask you about Sour Diesel. One of the cool things on Lotto is your voice is both at once much more audible, but also it almost feels like, I know you're singing about yourself and I know you're singing about some incredibly intense shit, but you almost like are changing the character of the voice on a couple of different songs. Like sometimes it's spoken word. Sour Diesel has this like gorgeous vocal harmony going on. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that song?
You ever listen to Pinback?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm like a huge Rob Crow head. And they always, I don't know, there's this song Tripoli that they have, and it's off like their first record. This is a Pinback CD, and there's just these like interlocking vocal melodies that I was always just like, that's such a cool way to like make a song. And I've always just been really into that. So for that one, it was like, I don't know, there's a demo of Sour Diesel that we'll probably put out like sometime next week with a video or whatever, and it's just a totally different song. Yeah, it's way different. It's way more sad and whatever. It was so I remember bringing that one to these guys and being like, yo, this is how it goes. And it almost feels like another kind of inspiration for that was like Joyce Manor. Like Constant Headache, like just how that song feels, man. It's just so good. Those are two timeless songs. I think good music just speaks for itself. You can pigeonhole it, you can do whatever, like, oh, that's pop punk, I don't like that, or whatever. I think anybody that listens to Constant Headache, anybody that listens to Tripoli, whatever, you're just like, this is phenomenal. Like, and I think that's always kind of what I'm trying to get at. It's just like, people always want to call us shoegaze and they want to be like, yo, you're in this realm or whatever. But I think like at the end of the day, Lotto was kind of like an exploration in just being like, let's just make good music.
Yeah.
Let's just see what that feels like to be in a room and just make good music together. And so yeah, it was an exploration in that way too, and not trying to lean too heavy into being one way or the other, But yeah, that song in particular, I like that song a lot. I like the demo even more. Like a lot.
I look forward to hearing the sad version of this. I mean, because
it's depressing. It's like, but I didn't want to do that. Also, like, I don't know. Lotto doesn't need to be like, sure, I'm talking about some really heavy shit or whatever, but we all go through shit. My shit is not worse than anybody else's. And I think, I don't know. I really don't want to ever put out anything where it's like, I think that's the hard part about like being an addict in recovery and talking about the real truths of that is it could be seen as some sort of romanticization, but I really don't want it to be. I really want it to be like, hey, I struggle just like you struggle, and I think that's like, that's really the message of the record in general. I mean, the last song, Herp Him, where like I'm talking about like a plane landing and that actually happened. We were on this plane and I thought it was scary as shit. I hate flying.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up flying or whatever. And but the plane lands. And I think that's like kind of the thing that I'm trying to get at too. It's just like, I don't know, whatever. I just went on a tangent.
No,
Sorry.
not at all, man. I mean, I was wondering, when we were coming into this, I was like, on the fence about how much to ask you about the lyrical content of it, because I'm sure it's difficult to feel like you opened a vein basically on this record and you're so honest. And then you have to perform it every night. You also have to talk about it with interviewers and journalists who are like, hey man, so tell me about this, tell me about that. And I too have my personal issues with some of the stuff that you've talked about, and it's not something I want to talk about every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I mean, that's the thing is like, I learned pretty early on. It's weird when you first get clean, you tell everybody, you know what I mean? You're like, hey, what's up? I'm Doug. I'm a recovering dope fiend and whatever. And then like years later, you get to this point where you're like, I don't need to tell my boss that I'm a fucking junkie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to tell certain people this stuff, like, cause it's just so personal or whatever. And so I kind of learned that a lot, but it's funny. Yeah. It's funny to be like, I've always like veiled everything. That's another thing about Lotto too, is it's just very out in the open. And a lot of the other stuff that I'm talking about on the other records is the same stuff.
Yeah, but it's
I've
like
always been talking
hidden
about the same
beneath
stuff,
layers
but
of
it's like
noise.
veiled.
And
Yeah.
Totally.
So it's weird to like do all these interviews now and people are like, "What's up, you fucking junkie? Like, what's this about?" You know what I mean? And I'm like, "Oh man."
You should just start
maybe I
lying and being
shouldn't
like, "Oh no, actually, this song's about Saquon Barkley." Like,
yeah, totally. They're all about Saquon Barkley. Yeah,
ultimately.
Especially this season.
American Food. When I heard this, I was like, this band could do anything. Like, what is going on here? It's got this incredible break, the scratching, the harmonies, but the pitched up stuff. Tell me about putting together. And this is the first single. Now, we're not talking to Beyonce here. It's like it's a single, but it's like part of an album. But like, you obviously wanted to make a statement with putting this out first.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, well, that's like the whole thing. That's our whole thing all the time is like red herring.
Yeah.
Just like, I wanted to, we did, I think things move in cycles, and this is really important too. Like, at the end of Lucky Styles, the last song is 23 Till Infinity. And that and it's a totally different song than the rest of the songs. And that kind of alludes to a different thing. Like the next LP will be this different thing. And I did that intentionally. And then, after putting out all the SoundCloud things with like Swan, like it was funny to just like kind of throw a red herring and be like, yeah, we got this live record on deck. And it's like this whole thing of just us as a band. But we're going to put out this really weird song. And honestly, with that song, sometimes it happens where they just come together in a matter of hours, and you're just like, I'm done with it. This one's done, and it just feels right. And that one just kind of happened, and I was just like, yeah, this is good. I remember sending it to the rest of the band, and they were like, this is cool. And then I don't even know if it fits on the record, but I think that's probably why it's really great for it to be like I think it does like thematically. But like sonically, I don't know if it fits on the record, but it definitely, it was well worth it to make that the first single. You know what I mean? It
was also really cool because there's a version of that song that I think could have like 15 more things on it. Like you could have like all these other layers, and this just had like the 5 perfect parts to it. And it's a constant repeat for me. The last one I wanted to ask you about was Bayside K, just because this is up there with Diesel with like my favorite on the records, and it's just the guitar playing is so sick on this song. This was the one where I was like, this is probably going to be so fun to play live like 50 times for you guys. This and Herpem, like both like really great, strong end of the album. Bayside, what's going on there?
So there's this band called Horse Cops from Philadelphia, and they're just one of my favorite bands of all time. And I think, I always draw a lot of inspiration from my friend Josh, who like kind of heads that band or whatever. And it just feels like a fun Horse Cop song. And I don't know. I really, that's a Philly song.
Oh, cool.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's if I was like, yo, what is like Philadelphia sound like? It's like snoozer.
Yeah.
It's like like and I think or it's like Sun Organ or whatever. And I think that song is just kind of a celebration of that. I love playing that one. That one is really fun. I love all the harmonics. It just feels so good. And also like for that one, the vocal melody just follows the guitar part. Which I don't frequently do.
Yeah, that's like a Pavement thing, right? Like Malcolmus does. Like they'll just do like my vocal follows this lead guitar part. Yeah, it's cool.
Totally. Yeah. And I think like, I don't know, I often try to figure out what the best melody would be to stand out from everything. But for that one, I was just like, let's just get it right in there and see how it feels to just follow the guitar part. And it's an enjoyable one. We're putting out a video for that one early next week that I'm really stoked on.
All right, man. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you for
thanks for
making
me.
this record. I can't wait to see you guys when you come out to LA.